Hey everybody, I just wanted to go ahead and do a little video here explaining the league rules for our brand new Dynasty League that we're starting up. Now a lot of you have already played in leagues with us, so you'll find a lot of the stuff that we have to be very consistent with the other main league, the redraft league that we do, but I wanted to put this together so that we kind of have it all there for everybody. I know we're not doing, my favorite day of the year has always been draft day, when we have, we have food and we have people and we have the auction style draft setting. It's fantastic, love it. Obviously we're not all meeting in person. You'll see that there's some differences with the draft itself and the time clock for drafting. So I wanted to put this together to kind of act as, a little pep talk that I do before the normal draft kicks off. So hopefully this answers a lot of your questions. If you have more though, just shoot me a text or put it in the group chat. You can leave a comment. It's a YouTube video, so you can leave a comment, whatever works, and then we can dive in and answer that. So obviously this is a Dynasty League. It is not a redraft league, and the biggest difference with the Dynasty League, I'm sure you all realize this, is you don't draft a new team every year. Your players that are on your team stay on your team. So you kind of have them, unless you drop them, you have them for their career. So it's really cool. You'll get to, you can watch players go through ups and downs as their careers go through different arcs. Very exciting, and there's no more exciting part of a Dynasty League than the redraft startup draft itself. Which we're going to be having very soon here. Let's see, when the draft is in 2 weeks. 2 weeks and a few hours from when this video posts, so super exciting. It's right around the corner. Now, obviously we have 14 teams, and then we're doing a snake draft. So, it goes 1 through 14, and then reverse order on the swing back. So 1 through 14, 15 through 28, and so on. It snakes back and forth. One thing that's kind of cool about Sleeper, well, there's a lot that's cool about Sleeper in this app platform, but you can trade your drafts, and presumably mid-draft, you can trade your draft picks. Now, I haven't seen it live because I've never been in this kind of a situation before, but from everything I see, you can trade your draft picks beforehand, once everybody pays, of course, and you can trade it while the draft's going on too, so cool aspect as far as that goes. Now, the draft itself is going to be 22 rounds deep. Every roster is made up of the following. You have 20 roster spots, you have 2 taxi spots, and 3 IR spots. So let's kind of break those down. So the 20 roster spots, here's your starting lineup. You have 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end, 1 regular flex, meaning running back, wide receiver, tight end, and 1 super flex, meaning quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end. There are no defenses, there are no kickers. Get rid of that. In addition, you have 11 bench spots. So it's going to be a deep league. There will still be guys out of free agency, but you're gonna kind of need to rely on good roster construction of your teams, as well as making trades. There might be certain weeks that don't work as well. So that's kind of gonna be a really cool component of it. Now, the 2 taxi spots. For those of you that aren't familiar with the term taxi spots and don't know what it is, the reason that, like I just mentioned, we have 20 roster spots. So why is our draft 22 rounds long? Well, it's because Sleeper set it that way. But the other reason is you have 2 taxi spots. So what a taxi spot is kind of look at it as like a practice squad in the NFL. You can go ahead and place a player on there and it won't count towards your 20 on your active roster. Now, in order to put a guy in a taxi squad, there's a couple of requirements. 1, has to be a rookie. Can't place in, can't draft Jalen Hurts or Joe Flacco. I don't know why those 2 came to mind, but you can't draft those 2 and put them on your practice squad. Joe Flacco's probably a better example until he becomes a starter again. The only guys you can put on your taxi squad are rookies. And in order to place them on there, they need to be placed on the taxi squad before the regular season starts. Once the regular season has started, you won't be able to add anybody new to the taxi squad until the next off season. Guys can only be on the taxi squad for a full year too. So if you leave somebody on there through their rookie year, come year 2, you do have to move them off and either put them on your active roster or drop them. You can't keep them on there. So when we do future supplemental rookie drafts, it's a good spot to put guys that maybe, they're a rookie, but they don't have a starting position yet set up on their team. And you just want to hold on to them so it doesn't impact one of your roster spots, counts as a taxi spot. So 2 taxi spots, have to be rookies, they can only be on there for a year, and have to be on before the regular season starts. You can pull a guy off after the regular season starts and bring him to your active roster, just can't put him back. Then as far as the IR goes, we have 3 league IR spots, or 3 IR spots per team, I should say. Now the IR spots is designated for guys who are actually on the IR. So if someone gets COVID, if someone is marked as out, if someone gets suspended, according to the way I have it set up on Sleeper, and we'll see how it goes when it's live, but those would not be eligible. So it's only if the guy is truly placed in IR. One of the reasons I wanted to do this is I don't want to deplete our free agency any more than it already is. We have big teams, as most Dynasty leagues do. So having IR spots being used for guys who are just ruled out for a week seems like that would be overkill. So that's kind of the breakdown of the 22 rounds, 20 rosters, 2 taxi, 3 IRs. As far as points and scoring goes, it's standard scoring, it's half point PPR, it's fractional scoring. Passing touchdowns are worth 4, rushing and receiving touchdowns are worth 6. All of the scoring breakdown too you can find on the Sleeper app itself. If you look through the settings and look at the scoring, I'm not gonna go through everything, but you can see it all in there. There's no point for kick return, punt return yards, or anything, weird like that. There's no bonuses for hitting a certain amount of yards in a week, or no, 50-point touchdown catch bonus, nothing like that. Just very standard. You can look at the box score and know exactly how many points people got. We did this last year too in the redraft league. We're going to continue it moving forward, is game against the median. So each week you have a head-to-head game where you're playing against your opponent, and you also have a game every team does against the median. So the way that works is the top 7 scoring teams each week will get a win. The bottom 7 scoring teams each week will get a loss. And the reason for this is, let's say you're the top, actually bad example, let's say you are the second highest scoring team for the week, and that week you just happen to play the highest scoring team. So you get a loss. You go 0-1 on the week. Meanwhile, the second lowest scoring team happen to play the worst scoring team, and they get a win. Is that fair? Well, it's fantasy, nothing's fair. But what we do to try and better balance the, randomness of who you play and how your opponent does, we still want that head-to-head competitive fun that's easy to track, but we also want to kind of give a little bit of a bonus to the teams that do well. So you have your head-to-head game each week and your game against the median. So basically each week there's 2 weeks, which, as we saw last year, it makes for really competitive down to the finish stretches as far as where teams place and everything. It's a lot of fun. Free agency will be fab style. This is how we've kind of always done it. So it's not just a direct waiver order, it is fab. Everyone gets fab is free agency budget. Everyone gets $100 each year that they can go ahead and spend and put blind bids on players. Players will be going through daily waivers, so you can go ahead, place your bid. Whoever bids the most for that player will get that player. If for whatever reason 2 teams tie, then the tiebreaker is waiver priority, which is automatically done through the site. But you can go ahead, place your bids, and that way it's not based on just the bad teams get better priority for that week. You can truly kind of shift and do what you want for bidding. You can also trade fab dollars too. So another thing to kind of keep in mind. The trade deadline for this league, since it's a dynasty, we have it a little bit earlier than the redraft league. The reason for that is we don't want teams that are out of it kind of selling this season. We don't want to, in a dynasty league, there's different components. You don't want teams that are super good and have playoff spots locked up selling their future to try and buy for this year any more than you would, reasonably want. So week 11 is the trade deadline for this, which still gives teams a pretty good idea of knowing how they're doing. 11 weeks into the season, playoffs don't start till week 15, but it doesn't allow you to do, week 13 trades 2 weeks before the playoffs start to, have buyers and sellers as drastically when the regular season has kind of been decided. So, draft picks. Let's talk about this. So, in addition to the startup draft, every year there's going to be a rookie draft. So, basically what happens there is it's a rookie draft, but it's a supplemental draft. So, in addition to rookie players, you can also draft anybody that's been in the free agency at the end of the regular season. So, the way this works is playoffs will come week 15. And actually, let's take a second to explain playoffs. So playoffs come, they start in week 15. It's divided into the upper bracket, or the winner's bracket, which the top 6 teams will qualify for. The top 2 teams get byes. Well, the teams, what would it be, 3 through 6 play each other, and then they reseed each round to play the highest seed will play the lowest seed. We have prizes for first, second, and third, which I'll get into. In addition to the winner's bracket, there's also the toilet bowl bracket. So the bottom 8 teams will enter their own kind of consolidation or, kind of backup championship Well, it's a toilet bowl. It's a shitter. So you get what you get. But they have their own playoffs, which they can go ahead, play, compete, and try and win some money. So when the playoffs get done, at that point, we'll go in and I will lock the rosters. So whoever's a free agent stays. Teams can make pickups throughout the playoffs. There's no restrictions on that. But once the playoffs are done, the roster is locked. Then we'll have the supplemental draft that will happen about this, same time as we do this every year. So a couple weeks after the rookie draft takes place, we'll have the supplemental draft. And what that means is each team will have 3 rounds. Rounds 1, 2, 3. Obviously, that's 3 rounds. To go ahead and add guys to their team based off incoming rookies and anybody that's still a free agency. After that supplemental draft is done, then we'll open back up free agency, and it can kind of be, free, it'll be back to its regular rolling waivers, daily waivers. Now, with draft picks, Sleeper has it set so that the 3 years, I think it will show up to 3 years. We'll see what happens when it comes through, but up to 3 years of future draft picks will be shown that you can trade. However, a league rule that we'll do, because we're only paying for 1 season in advance, so we don't want people trading 2 and 3 years of draft picks in advance. You can only trade picks for 1 year's draft in advance. So like that, for example, when this year kicks off, next year's rookie draft, those ones you can trade. So if you want to trade those mid-season to try and get better guys on your team, or you want to sell some guys to get draft picks in the rookie draft, totally cool. But if you want to try and trade your picks 2-3 years down the road, even though they show up, we're not doing that. Any of those trades happen, I will just reverse them back. And it won't happen. So just kind of be cognizant of that. We're trying to make sure that people keep the Dynasty League in good favor. Let's see, what else do we have here? Let's talk about the draft itself. So the draft we have set up as a snake draft, and you may have noticed that there's an 8-hour timer on it. I intentionally set the draft to start Friday afternoon/evening because I figured some people in this draft, they work weekends, some people work weekdays, some people work during the day, some people work at night. I'm sure there's probably some people that don't work at all, but there's a lot of, different people with different schedules. So I wanted to try and make something that would accommodate that. Since we're not meeting in person to do draft, I set an 8-hour time clock, which means when it's your turn to pick, you have up to 8 hours. Obviously, you don't need to use all 8 hours. You can make your pick within a couple of minutes if you know who you're gonna do. And I'm thinking that on Friday through the weekend, the first couple picks and rounds will go a little bit quicker, and then as we get into Monday and the next week, they'll kind of slow down. And this is kind of cool because as breaking news comes out too, let's say a new player gets signed or traded, guys may shoot up in value, and whoever has that pick, that can be an asset to you. Now, one thing that I saw people asking about is, what happens if the person in front of me makes their pick at 11 o'clock at night and I'm asleep, and I get up at 8 a.m. and my roster has already been picked by a computer. A couple of things. I think you can put guys into your queue if you're concerned and worried about that, so that if the CPU picks somebody, they'll pick who's next up in your queue. But what I'm going to attempt to do, and what I've looked at from reading different sleeper boards, is either pause the draft or turn off the CPU auto pick when it gets late. So like probably maybe from 10 p.m. to 10 a.m. unless people feel strongly otherwise, just pause it, which should still allow teams that are up to make their pick, but doesn't allow teams to have their guys be auto-picked by the CPU. Unfortunately, this is gonna be a little bit of trial by fire, and we're gonna learn as we're in it, but I'll try and have a good resolution that works so that people aren't losing out. Now, if you're come up and it's your pick at 8 a.m. and you don't make your pick before 4 p.m., that's on you. Like if you're not gonna make your pick and you're gonna take the whole time, that's on you. Sleeper has no problem sending notifications, as people know, so you'll be notified. Turn your notifications on and kind of, stay tuned. This should be a fun week or so of the draft going on, but I'll do what I can to try and make sure that we don't have those overnight issues where people have guys getting picked that they don't want on their team. Let's see here. And for those of you that are new to Sleeper, it's an awesome app. Like I see a lot of polls online. People love it way more than Yahoo, ESPN. Don't even get me started on my FFL. That league is just, it's cool for customization, but it is awful as far as, app-based and all that kind of stuff. So it's a really cool league. It's been great for league chat. You can post polls, you can post GIFs, you have team mascots. You know, you can have co-owners, which I would really encourage people have co-owners. Why not? Let's have the league. Like, this is going to be a year-round league, so let's keep it going and fun. And you can give your players nicknames. You can change your team name and team logos and all that kind of stuff. So it's a really great platform. Very excited to do that. Now, as far as prizes go, turns out 14 team, $150 per person, leads to some really easy prize money. I was kind of happy to see that. So regular season, whoever wins the regular season, which is determined by the best win-loss record, tiebreaker goes to points 4, gets $200. Great, nice. You know, it's a little bit more than your money. So if you have a really good regular season and everything goes to shit in the playoffs, you still come out a little bit on top. If you win first place, $1,000. That sounds nice, $1,000. Second place, still win $500. Third place, $250. So if you make the playoffs and don't get bounced in the first week, or if you get a bye, you're gonna have a chance, no matter what, to at least be playing for $250, which is more than you put in. And then the toilet bowl, you can get your money back, $150. Keep in mind, every year before the rookie supplemental draft happens, I'll be collecting another $150 so that we kind of keep this. You know, everyone paid $300 this year before the draft, so that we're prepaying for next season. In the future, we'll be collecting the $150 to prepay for the future year, so that we're keeping people. I mean, I'm not worried about the people in this league not wanting to come back, but it's just nice to keep everybody kind of honest and keep things moving forward. I don't have a lot of other stuff to say. I kind of, you know, put some notes on a little sheet. I think that covers pretty much everything, but if you have other questions, let me know. Want to keep this league super interactive. Who knows, maybe I'll even be able to put together some podcasts myself. Maybe I'll have to, you know, work with Hoppy, Vice, maybe we'll get Dave, Pat. Maybe we'll even call our Floridians down in Florida and see if they want to chime in. We'll see, but want to keep this league super fun and very excited for it to all start up. Got any questions? Feel free to reach out, let me know. Thanks, guys.